suppose we'll go. Or maybe flip them over. I believe you've had some time with elephants with Scott.
Welcome back, and apologies for that little break in signal and also for the audio issues on Marc's vehicle. Marc and Andrew are busy sorting that out, and we've managed to reposition and now continue watching this breeding herd. They're all really relaxed with us, which is great. But sadly, I think we'll only be able to enjoy the sighting for a few more minutes, because as you can see, the vegetation is very thick, and as soon as they veer off the road, it wouldn't make sense to follow them through this thick stuff. It's great watching the youngsters like we have in view now, because it really gives you an idea of how difficult it is to get to grips with that trunk of theirs, and it takes them a few years to master the art. It's got hundreds of thousands of different muscle fascicles, and that's what allows them to be able to twist and contort it in so many different directions. But all those individual muscles require control, and to learn how to control them certainly isn't easy for the youngsters. We're just going to try and creep forward a little bit. Alex, apologies if the signal breaks, but we do need to try and just...
Welcome back, folks. Let's just sort out our audio issue here on the vehicle. Don't know what happened. This is the youngster that had that sort of growth on her elbow. Looks like both elbows, actually. But it looks like it's a lot smaller than it was, if I'm not mistaken. Unless the other cub was... Unless she's starting to get the same thing growing on her elbows. I think it is. Because this other cub lying down looks like she's the one that had the bigger growth on its elbow. I don't know what it could be. But yeah, I think that's the one that's got the big lump on her elbow. While we're here, I need to show you something that's on my dashboard. I know it's not quite the subject of cats. Except I touched it now, so she's gone. She's withdrawn. I have to wait until it decides to move. This is a click beetle, a female click beetle. You see, this is my finger, about as long as my baby finger. Very interesting beetle. Has a way of creating like a pneumatic click, and uses... Just cutting to this quick while. Okay, sorry. She was not quite sneezing. A couple of these cats are eating some of these long grasses, I suppose, for their stomachs.
Coming back to your beetle.
Okay. Anyways, they have an incredible sort of little hinge where the head meets the thorax, or rather the thorax and the abdomen, and they use that to click, helps them click over. But it's a defense mechanism, so that if something were to grab the beetle, you can see the click. You can hear it as well. And I'm going to find a tree for this beetle. Anyways, let's get back to cats, and just to follow on from a question that Scott had about elephants and bees. Hang on. Just got... Wild dog. Okay, that's interesting. Getting a bit of a word in from Arethusa that the wild dog went through there this morning. Waiting to hear if there's any update on that. Rick and Susie in Hawaii were asking if elephants ever disturb bees when they're feeding on trees. They do, Rick and Susie. I've been on a number of occasions, I've been with elephants when beehives have been disturbed, and the pandemonium that ensues. We can't see the dogs, they've gone south into Arethusa private. We're only allowed on Arethusa safari. But that's good news, because they might come around this way at some point. But elephants don't like bees. Elephants are very wary of bees. In fact, because of the reaction that elephants have to bees, there are new methods in trying to keep elephants out of farmland, out of croplands in parts of East Africa. And one of the methods that they're using is to keep beehives around the edges of crops to deter elephants, and it actually works. It's a good way to minimize that conflict, that human-animal conflict that one experiences with burgeoning human populations expanding into wildlife areas, and just that constant animosity between subsistence farmers and rural people and the wild animals that come into their lives, either predators that eat their stock, their livestock, or big herbivores that destroy their crops. They've moved just slightly from where they were, off the road now to this little dense patch of grasses under these bush willows. And as they were moving through here, we noticed there was a little termite mound hidden, very well hidden under a potato bush. and a dwarf mongoose sitting in there watching the cats, not making a sound, just watching them. Probably quite pleased with itself that the cats couldn't see it. Copy, thanks Andrew. Andrew, is anything else on safari other than those Dutch that were there? Did Roy say there was anything else on safari in Dow? Okay, copied. Nothing else. Yeah, must be. Andrew, come in. Did you find something on Spam Road? Okay, copy, thanks. Scott, come in. Sorry folks, got a lot of radio work going on here. Some buffalo up the road towards Treehouse to turn off. Yeah, I just want to know what the lock is of those in Glove. Okay, copied. If anyone's interested, there was also some in Glove, just west of Quarry Pan. Oh, these are cats that are not planning on doing much unless something walks by. Joanne. Hello Joanne in Arizona. Bird that is calling. Okay, let me see if I can. I'm not sure which one you're referring to, but let's see if we can hear any of them. I'll see if we can. We've got the chagra. There is quite a number of chagras. I can hear a southern black tit. The chagra is that's the brown crowned chagra. No, the black crowned chagra. Chagra is a type of shrike, but it's a very secreted shrike. Not too sure. Karina in Finland. I'm trying to wrap my head around. Are these cats dependent on the Nkuhuma timber males when it comes to hunting? Are they dependent on the males when it comes to hunting or not? Not really. I think they could probably bring down a buffalo on their own. I suppose if they were to go for giraffe or something, or maybe with big buffalo bulls, but if I'm not mistaken, they managed to bring down a buffalo on their own. Sometimes you'll find lionesses are dependent on the male or males when they're bringing down things like buffalo or giraffe. But generally, hunting, they can't be dependent on the males because the males aren't with them all the time. Especially if they're hunting wildebeest or zebra or kudu or anything of that size or smaller, they definitely don't need the males. In fact, if anything, they don't really want the male company because it's likely that the males will dominate the carcass or even steal the carcass and prevent them from feeding. It's not a hard and fast rule that happens. Some males allow the rest of the pride to feed with them and some males don't. And some males on some days allow them and other days don't. It's not a really fixed thing about how that really works. But I've very often, with many different prides, I've seen where the lionesses will kill something and then they'll leave the males feeding on it and then move off and go and hunt for themselves and their cubs. Marc, here go. Yeah, affirmative, is that right? Yeah, you're welcome, bud. I'm not too sure how much there is out there. We were driving around earlier. It wasn't very much at all, but the weather has changed. It's drying up. It's starting to warm up just a little bit, and some of the cloud looking like it might be lightening up a bit. Maybe some sun coming out, and of course that means that most likely the cats are going to stay pretty flat for most of the day, and which will be good because that means that we'll see them this afternoon. We won't have to look too hard. Of course, if the weather doesn't change, if the weather gets a little bit worse, they could always move to a place where we're not likely to find them again. It'd be pretty hard to track at the moment as the ground starts drying up and hardening. Need to find a tree for the speakers.
My pillow is falling off the side here.
Huh?
My pillow is falling off the side here.
Really?
Yeah.
You can't stretch over?
No. It's too far. Let me try again.
Want me to hold your feet? Sorry, Andrew has to try and retrieve something. Alright, now you got it. Because if the cats got it, they would have had fun with it. But I'd still like to stay here. We weren't seeing much, and as long as we've got cats, and there's a chance that something might happen, I'd like to stay here. Evidently some buffalo, not too far west of here. And I suppose they won't need to go down to the dam, or they won't be heading down towards tree houses they'd normally do at this time of the day, because it would be starting to get warm. So they might move around, and it might get interesting if these cats hear something or see something moving about. Fortunately, the way they sleep, they remain pretty well hidden until an animal might just be a little bit too close. It'll be interesting to see. What's most interesting is how they can go from this sleeping flat cat posture or status that they are now into up and running in the blink. In fact, it is the blink of an eye. Morning, Sue. Question coming from Canada, in Alberta in Canada. Question about the dark markings behind the ears of the lion. Sue wants to know, are they all the same, or can they be used to identify individual cats? Very much so. I mean, they are different. They do appear to be the same, but you have to remember that every cat is different, and even though it might be a very subtle difference, they are they're not going to be the same. But the other thing about the ears is, maybe more so than trying to identify from the markings of the ears, is actually using the tears and nicks and ticks. Sometimes ticks change over time, but the scratches and the tears and the bites that you find in their ears stay the same throughout their lives, if not they get a little more tatty as they move, as they age. And so those nicks and tears in the ears can be very distinctive markers. If we had to, can't really see with this cub, with the youngster, but if we were to look at, maybe if I can move, or when they sit up, especially the females, the older females, because they've had far more interactions or claws and teeth and claws tearing their ears, and fighting over carcasses, or fighting with other cats, and you'll be able to see some of the different markings, or rather nicks out of the ear. So that is a very important identifier when it comes to cats, especially because a lion do all look alike, and although there are very specific things that we look at when we're trying to identify individual cats, when we're keeping ID cards or ID features of the cats, the ears become very important. And so when you are trying to record different cats, you draw the outline of a cat's face, and you will be able to mark in where the nicks are on the ears. See if we can maybe pick up anything on his ears. Here's going to be a bit of sunshine coming out, which is going to get some of them seeking shade. If the sun comes out, we can be pretty sure they're not going to move much during the day. How are you? Good.
The rest of the fried honey was vegetarian. Similar.
Can a lion get parvovirus? That's a very good question. I'm not sure if parvo is exclusive to canines. I'm not too clued up on viruses and diseases, but that's something I'll have to look into. One thing that cats with lion are susceptible to here, especially in Kruger, is TB and feline HIV is another one. But parvo, I'm not sure. Parvo is deadly in domestic dogs. And I would imagine that if there was a cross-species contamination, I would imagine that there would be a tighter control of domestic dogs coming into wildlife areas for that very reason. So I would imagine that maybe there isn't cross-species contamination, or that's the right word, cross interspecific infection. Now, why don't you go and sleep in the tallest grass you can find?